Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 309 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed a Chicago artist, the Last Maven, to the show. I actually got pretty much in tune with his music around the end of last year. I think the first song I heard by him was Moxie featuring Dante Thomas, who is an artist I've been listening to the last couple of years. And from there, I started checking out a lot of what he has done over the last few years, even dating back to one of his earlier projects, all the way back in 2013. And I was really enjoying the music overall. So I invited him on the show this week. We were able to make it happen, and a really cool conversation. He talked about initially moving to New York to, get better as an artist. Some of the connections he made at that time, eventually moving back to Chicago, meeting individuals like Factz, Lupe, Fiasco, and what he learned from them as far as taking his craft more seriously, just getting better overall as a writer and lyricist over the years. And that has led him to a very consistent run of amazing singles he's released over the last year or so. And we talked about some of those songs as well as what he has planned moving forward and his other ventures he's going to be doing even outside of music, and really just building stepping stones to be able to expand his growth as an artist and his reach. And then hopefully that's going to allow him to do even more projects that he has in mind to reach a wider audience. So I love that he has a real solid foundation going and a real plan in place. And I really just love his story overall and his dedication to his craft. And it's going to be exciting to see what he does moving forward. And I'm definitely a fan at this point. I've been checking out all of his music the last several months. So it's going to be a great time to be able to watch and see what he does. And hopefully we can get him back on the show when some of this new music drops. So I got to thank the Last Maven once again for, getting back to me, being on this episode. And it was another great one. So I hope you guys enjoy it. As always, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so this right here is episode 309. I'm joined by artists I just got honestly kind of hip to in the last few months, probably the last 4 or 5 months now, from one of my favorite musical cities in general, Chicago, Illinois. The Last Maven. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm alive.
Hey, that's how it's feeling these days. It's crazy times. It's grateful to just be able to wake up in the morning and take a breath of fresh air. So I'm happy to have you here, man. And again, thank you for wanting to do this. And I usually kind of start with having the guest just give some background about how you got into music. I know you've been doing music for quite a while. So how did you get into it? And just a little brief backstory about you and what you do.
Man, okay, so I'm gonna give you a heads up that I'm a premier rambler, so I'm gonna try my best to just kind of keep it succinct. But I'll say beyond my love for music, I think it started with literature. My mom, growing up with her, as a single mom, my pops was around, but she was like the primary caregiver, and she one of her jobs that I remember her having the longest before she became a nurse was she worked in bookstores. So like Borders books. I just grew up, I would see like where the wild things are dressing up, and like all the characters would come in. So I've always had a thing with literature. Yeah. And so that, I think that's what kind of set my foundation. Always kind of been a little bit artsy. Didn't know that there were career opportunities from that. I just wasn't taught that. Very blue collar family. But I would say the thing that really sparked my interest was B by Common. So it was a lot happening at the time. But Chappelle's show, the music musical guest that he had on his show just kind of was blowing my mind. It wasn't radio stuff. I was already in love with Lupe. I already loved Kanye, of course, T.I., all of this stuff, but actually getting into the Chappelle show and seeing the Talibs. And I had older siblings that when I would refer to them, they would be like, here's more. You know what I'm saying? So they start telling me about the Rakims. They start telling me about the KRS. So my journey has always been learning a little bit more as we go, but I would say the blog era was a huge inspiration. The golden era was a huge inspiration. And I largely will blame the Chappelle show and comment on my wanting and my desire to get into hip-hop.
Yeah, because B and all that era, that was like 2005, 2006, around there. And then the blog era right around that time as well, leading up to the 2010s.
Yes.
And a super, super crucial moment for a lot of artists at that time as well. And I know for you, at least according to, you know, what I've seen on Apple Music, one of your earliest projects is from 2013. Love-lathan, which I think to me is a really solid project. I will say you sound super young on that project. I don't know how old you were on that project, but tell me a little bit about it, because I don't know if you've ever been able to speak on it or not, but I think it's a great project. You just sound super young on it, but I hear a lot of potential, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that was initially the reaction. I didn't have that many people around me musically at the moment, at that time, but I was accumulating. So we were in a group called The Neighbors, which was like a lot of South Side and West Side, multicultural, and we just kind of sharpened each other. But by the time I met them, it was a friend who we ended up getting admitted into the same college. So we reconnected upon discovering that, and he had this group already. And I already was doing my own thing, but once I came around, I had been doing it for some years, so I was a little bit more refined. Some of them were younger, but I would say that community effort definitely helped me direct the energy a little bit more than if I was to be alone. It's actually, so it's spelled weirdly, but it's Leviathan, like the Thomas Hobbes philosophy joint. And yeah, man, it was so interesting. Like around that time, I had no voice control. I had no like idea of tonality. I just knew to rap. And it was Lupe, it was Lil Wayne, it was T.I. and Black Thought. I would say like biggest. Damn, I know you could probably hear that. I don't know how to turn out the sound for that shit.
No, you're good. You're all good.
But yeah, that was. I think I started rapping maybe my junior year in high school, and those were my biggest influences. Like a lot of the blog era people, and I didn't really have a musical community outside of recently discovering them. So that was just me finding Dilla beats. I was finding Ninth Wonder beats. I was just all the beats that I loved growing up. I was just kind of plucking them and doing what I could. And I had some original ones as well. But I had like 20 songs on that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy. I know that for sure.
Yeah, man. I just because I was so new and I didn't necessarily have that community. I was just doing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a lot of discovery happening in that phase for sure.
Yeah. So that, you know, dating it back, that's 13 years ago at this point. So I guess I would ask from there, like, what do you think you've learned the most over the last 10, 12, 13 years as far as, like, growing yourself as an artist, finding your sound, and getting to where you are now?
Okay, so, all right. So after that was the tape that showed people that I had potential. Traditionally, I've always been a very silly person. I was that guy in class doing like immature, just playing games. So nobody necessarily associated me with any type of intelligence, if I had to be very honest. But rap to me was that avenue to show what I actually am. And so getting used to it in Leviathan and seeing how people would react to me, I was like, oh, I've never been good at anything, but here we are. I think that also helped motivate me to continue going. Shortly after that tape, I graduated from school and I moved to New York within like 3 months. And so the person who I moved to New York with was the guy who started the group The Neighbors, and who I also went to elementary school with. And we were out there. We went in the Bronx. We were in Jersey for a little bit. We were in the Bronx, but the goal was to be at the Mecca, the home of hip hop, and to make something happen in that way. And also, we didn't know any of our family members to leave and to take that risk. So part of it was that. But so I was doing a lot of open mics at the time. Our schedule was kind of conflicted, so I was often alone trying to find some type of in the industry. I became like a production assistant for a group of producers called Pushing Buttons Collectives. One of the founders of that has a project, or is a feature on the MF Doom record. It was like these guys were like in the scene, and it kind of kept me interested. But then one day, not interested, but active in around the scene. One day, I started seeing ads on Instagram about something called Society of Spoken Arts, and I think I saw Black Thought do one, and I think I saw Mickey Factz do one, and I think I saw Nikki Jean, and I saw Lupe, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was a guild focused on hip hop, but through the lens of linguistics. And it was like a 3-month long interview process, like phone interviews. You had to write stuff. You had to do all of this. But I was part of the second admitted, for lack of a better term, like class. It's not class, but like that's where we were. And that is when I learned what it really meant to be a rapper in a real way, because when you're doing it with your friends and nobody's done it before, you don't really know what's right and what's wrong outside of what feels right and what feels wrong. But with that, it's so much that you can miss. And the main thing that I missed that Lupe taught us in Sosa was that aspect of consistency and putting those hours in. It is we say it's a guild because you're building this skill, like a real skill. So to spend time with it every day, whether you're writing 2 bars, 4, 6, trying to do different styles, and kind of same way you would work out, same way you would do exercises on the football field. And once I got that information, I think it all clicked. And I want to say I might have joined Sosa or got accepted in like 2018. I've probably put out music every year since then. Since 2019. So there was a gap where me and my homie, we would freestyle all the time. We were just doing stuff at home, recording stuff, but not much was coming out commercially, not commercially, but to the public.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when that changed for me. So from that point on, it became like serious. Also, my son was born around the same time, so my idea of what life was also changing at this time. And just from that point on, it's just I always have certain things that I want to focus on. Okay, let me get better with song structure because I feel like I suck at that. Let me get better at writing hooks because I don't feel great at that. Let me get better manipulating tone. And so it's always, those are actually pretty sequential in terms of things that I will focus on. You can only do so much at once, but I would say that there's always something that I am actively working on to improve from the last thing I did. It might not be all of it. I'll try, but me being that I hyper-focus, I need a thing to latch on to allow me to grow.
Yeah. Wanted to take a quick minute out of today's episode to let you guys know of a way that you can support the show, a way that you can donate some funds to us, starting at as little as $5 or more via our Ko-fi page. Now, we've been using Ko-fi now for a few years, and it's been a very effective way to generate some funds that we end up using for, future guests, sponsors, just an overall way to keep this show as quality as it has been for the last several years, and we always appreciate any and all contributions. So if you go to coffee.com/The Proven Knowledge Podcast, that's ko-fi.com/The Proven Knowledge Podcast, you can donate, like I said, $5 or more. It gives you that option to do 10, 20, 30, or just type in whatever amount. Any contributions are appreciated. And, I do this show from the bottom of my heart for the love of it at the end of the day. But those funds are always, always welcome because they do allow us to do more and be more flexible with how we continue to grow this platform in the future. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. The link will be in the description of the show notes of this episode you're listening to now. So definitely check it out. But without further ado, let's get back into the episode. It's like building on those ideas, and then it kind of meets with that consistency that you learned, and those become the building blocks for the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and so on and so on. And I can definitely tell just from all the songs you've been putting out in the last year or so that that's definitely starting to catch up now with what you're doing and where you're heading. So I guess I want to kind of touch on some of the recent singles. There's a ton of them, like I said, over the last year or so. Unusual, Built Like That, Moxie with Dante Thomas. Lost Memories just came out a couple months ago. So talk to me about some of these records over the last year or so. What do these records mean to you, and what kind of strategy are you going with as far as deciding when to put these out? Because you're doing visuals with them, you're doing social media content tied into it. So what has it been like getting to put some of these out finally?
So interesting part about that, which a lot of people don't know, is that so another thing that happened when I did move back to Chicago from New York, that was 2020 or 2019, and maybe a year after that, I met Ro Moore, which was a frequent collaborator of another producer who I've known for a decade named IB Classic, and that essentially became my new studio home. So with consistency and being in the studio, we essentially worked. We were in the studio, I want to say, once a week for a year. I'm still putting out music from that era. This was 2024, and the goal initially was to do a project, but because of the evolving sounds and still figuring it out, and there was a lot of experimenting, it wasn't necessarily cohesive, but it was a lot of really good individual music. And as far as putting it out, to the best of the ability, we try to put it out with the season that makes sense. So to not put out something that feels wintry in the summer, things that'll resonate with how people are feeling. And I think that was a large part of my recent development, was staying in the studio weekly, working on all this music and collaborating. As of recently, been doing so many collaborations. I would say the collabs are newer. Dante is fire. Heavy Crowns is fire. Joel Q is fire. Obviously, Nikki Factz. The Nikki Factz thing is so interesting because his freshman class on XXL is my favorite one of all time. This is when I was graduating high school. And I was obsessed. I remember going on the computer and looking at their freestyles of each one of them all the time, and just the fact that he's in Sosa as well, with Lupe, which is how I met him. And then now he has Pendulum Inc., which is a school as opposed to a guild. And there's some overlap there, but it keeps me active. Like, I love being able to learn something new all the time, and then it breaks stuff down in a technical aspect. Because the idea is rappers do what we hear, and we could like mimic a technique to a certain degree if you realize it. But a lot of times we don't know. We just doing stuff that sounds cool, and so this gives name to certain techniques and stuff like that. And I think now I've been trying to collaborate more. I've always been, let me just make stuff in my room. I'm also super introverted. You know what I'm saying? I've been working on it over the past years. But me breaking out of that, me being more visible in my city and on the internet as much as I can, I think that these are all things that it just allows me to keep growing and keep pushing. I don't know if I answered it.
No, you did. You did. Okay. I honestly think that was a very in-depth and great response to it too, because you kind of went in detail about the purpose behind doing it too. Because I think a lot of people, they might just be throwing songs out there and seeing what sticks. You know what I mean? But I think for you, this is an actual like strategic move to be able to do it, and then you're also still putting out that music that you made, like you said, a couple years ago, but it means a lot to you, so you want to share it with people anyway. So I think that's awesome. So, yeah, it's incredible, man. And I guess I would go from there, like, what is this going to lead to for the rest of 2026? Are you going to kind of keep on this wave of dropping some singles every now and then? And then I know you just did an EP on Untitled a couple weeks ago as well, like a freestyles EP. So you just going to keep having fun experimenting with, like, putting out music and seeing where it goes? Or is there some, like, bigger plan for the end of the year or even, into 2027?
Well, I am curious, and I have a general idea of what people like from me the most. But I don't want to limit creativity, because sometimes that gets in the way of when I am writing. Now I have a block because I'm thinking about too much of, is this going to be received this way? Is this going to be received this way? And the goal for this year, with that being said, is to kind of amplify it a little bit more. So as much as I've been doing a single for like the past year and some change, I'm going to do the same this year. I have been, but to do EPs in the midst of that. And the true goal, just being transparent, is to try to get some type of foothold and some type of acknowledgement that'll lead me to more opportunity, and so I can live the music a little bit more, versus trying to fit it in after or before the 9 to 5, or doing sleepless nights and coming into work looking crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather develop some type of balance, but I also really care about music and hip hop and my input in that, and what I'm saying, and whether it's a skill, whether it's the intent behind the ideas, whether it's conceptual. And with I guess to circle back to your question, like, the point would be more so to get me this foothold so I can do the projects that I really want to do, and they be received. So they're conceptual ideas that I really want to do, but I feel like I did a project called Simple Hughes, based on Langston Hughes. He had a character called Jesse B. Simple. So it's tying in that literature aspect. It's tying in what's going on with the world, with really good music. And there was a good reception on it, but the next level of that should be better, and I'll expect more of a reception, but I do want more of an audience to be able to see it. Because as much as I do it for myself, I still want to know, you know what I'm saying, from the community of hip-hop, that what I'm doing is valuable, and I believe it is. Yeah,
it's basically just expanding that reach from the music you're dropping now, and then eventually when you have the wider audience, they'll be able to enjoy the new stuff even more when you get those bigger projects going. So that's definitely exciting, man. And I'm sure there's a lot more great collabs coming as well through that too. So that's going to be great to watch. And we're down to the last few questions here. These are ones I ask on every episode, more life-related ones. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, give yourself any piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
10 years ago. It's 2016. Oh. All right, so I would have encouraged myself to be more of a risk taker. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I think at that time, like 2016, I was still in Jersey. I was in Newark, New Jersey at the time. I worked in New York, so I was commuting every day. But I think I was very comfortable with making music at home and not giving it to people under the guise of I'm trying to perfect this. Which was true, but it was like, nah, let that shit go. Like, let people see the process even more. And, that would be it, just to be more, even if it's not being brave, just take the risk, you know?
Yeah. And from there, I think that's allowed you to build the consistency where you're at now by doing that. So that's incredible to see the growth there. And usually from there, we flip the question and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself with music, obviously, but in life in general?
So 10 years from now, I will have, oh my God. I'm going to have a 17-year-old kid.
Man.
Yeah, like I've never thought about that until now.
High school?
Obviously, I've thought about him growing up.
Yep.
But like that's insane. But as an artist, I fully expect to have put on galleries or exhibitions by that time. I have so many sketches. A lot of my ideas are not strictly music. So the interesting point, what I find myself now, is how do I combine these elements to create my particular universe and welcome everybody in there. Mm-hmm. Give people a place. So as much as I say me gaining a foothold, by that time, people should just be able to walk in, and have a whole galaxy of stuff. Valuable stuff, inspiring a new generation or style. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's aesthetically, whether it's just the art that I draw, whether it's musically, whether it's an approach, something that I do, I want to spark that new thing.
Yeah, that's definitely like opening doors for the next generation of artists and just talent in general, which is probably the most important thing anyone can do if they're able to. So that's awesome goals. I feel like you got to do like a book club or something like a hip-hop themed book club or something. That would be, tie it into the music somehow. Like that would be crazy.
You are in the right direction.
Okay. I was like all this reading talk, it would kind of make sense to go in that route eventually. Mm-hmm. So that's something to kind of be on the lookout for then, right?
Indeed.
Okay. We'll leave it at that, but that definitely sounds exciting. And do you have any final words of wisdom for the listeners today?
I mean, just as we kind of briefly spoke on earlier, the state of the world is insane. Do something nice for somebody. Do something nice for somebody next to you. Care, in places where you usually wouldn't. I think the world needs it, and I think the energy of that accumulating will create something beautiful, and it'll help us get into better places.
Yeah. Doing those small things goes a long way. I think it's sometimes people overthink doing, they have to do a ton or they have to go over the top, but it's like just like holding the door open for someone on their way in or something, or saying good morning to someone. It's like that goes a long way. So yeah, man. But that's all I have for you today, man. I got to say again, thanks for doing this. Thanks for stopping by. And I'm tapped in, man. I'm ready to hear whatever else you got coming for the rest of the year and beyond. And you got a new fan, technically a new fan right here. So, I'm excited, and hopefully we can do one of these again soon when you got some of the new stuff coming out as well. So you're welcome back anytime, man. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That does mean a lot to me. And I absolutely will be coming back.
Just want to say thank you for tuning in today. Be sure to hit that coffee link in the description of this episode if you'd like to donate any funds. And we'll see you back here with another new episode next week. As always, thank you for your support.